Before we move in to this Libra full moon, and the hair in my mouth, it's so windy outside, I want you to understand the deeper truth of this construct and what it is that you're moving through, which is there is no separation from the law of one perspective, which means there is no other person, there is no external reality happening to you, there is only one consciousness experiencing itself, and I'm actually hearing streamlining itself through infinite fractals of awareness, some conscious in the system, some unconscious in the system, but all moving through this cosmic cycle where there's a secret order to what appears to be disorderly from a human perspective, but from the lens of the soul, there is always harmonic order being sustained within the contrast of third density, and that's a construct in which you're here participating in. However, this means when we zoom out enough that every relationship, every interaction, every emotional response that you're having right now is not random. It's just you meeting yourself over again and again. Now, when we talk about a very specific theme around this lunar transit of the solar system, one of many universes that you're participating in, this is actually bringing up, I'm hearing an incremental theme in your life. So incremental would usually suggest that there's many slow steps that have brought you to this place of awareness, right? Consciousness that wakes up in the system and it begins to behave very differently. Okay, I'm seeing this as you're actually creating a new point of reference. Like something that you're doing could be making those around you actually, it's interesting because it's almost like it's like they're being forced to create a new point of reference for you, but it's less about being forced. It's more about them having to surrender an old point of reference that they've had for you, only because you're no longer reinforcing the same expectations that they've had. So those networks are beginning to break down, and you're actually simultaneously calling in a new nucleus of a family. That could be soul tribe energy. There's something around your authenticity and what it is that you're calling into your experience. That's just going to be a side channeled message that was coming through. But anyway, why this full moon in Libra is so important is because Libra governs relationships. And with the sun in Aries, that is yourself, right? That governs you as an individual. But the deeper truth of the system, when we view it from a higher realm, okay, is that that space between you and the other is an illusion. And it only appears real until you remember that the one that you're relating to is you, right? The one in which you're reacting to is you. It's another version of you. And the one that you're trying to understand is also you. So it's another expression within the same field that you are. You are not just consciousness localized to the body, but you are the very field that this body and vessel moves through, and everything upon the path. You are the opportunity that you seek, you are the person, you are the experience, you are the location. It is all this unified field of creation. Now, with the sun in Aries and the moon in Libra, this becomes amplified because Aries is the I am, this is the I exist, and this is I move as self, right? This is my unique energetic signature, this is the ego, this is my avatar, this is how I move through the system, right? It's the first sign in the zodiac. And Libra is okay, well, what do I want to create as a we, as a unit? How am I co-creating with infinite versions of myself in the system? It's about the connection. It's about a reflection through the other. So what you're experiencing right now is the polarity between the self, the identity of Aries, and the relational identity of Libra. Who am I and what do I look like as I open up to partnerships in my life? Now, 7th house could be anything from business partnerships. It could be platonic, it could be contracts, it could be customers or clients in the marketplace, but it's about what are we creating as sovereign beings, right? So I'm seeing that as co-creations. It's not a codependency. It's not I need you in order to create this thing. It's a what can we create together? And I'm seeing that also branch out into collective fields eventually as the North Node hits Aquarius in the summer. But right now, there's something around the 7th house theme that you're learning of what are we creating one-on-one, right? What am I creating with another version of myself? Because from the law of one, they're not opposites. They are literally the same consciousness viewing itself from two positions. So the full moon in Libra isn't about relationships. It's a point of recognition that you're returning to. It's recognition of where you're still perceiving yourself as separate, where you're attaching meaning externally based upon how other people see you, and also where you're being invited to see yourself more clearly through the mirror of another. Because the moment that you remember that we are all one within the system, everything changes because you stop trying to control the experience and instead you take a seat back and you actually start observing observing it, and then you start to see how reality is reflecting you and how connections are responding to you, and every interaction is guiding you back to yourself. And that's the frequency that you're moving through during this Libra full moon. So what I'm going to do is read to you the Sabian symbol of this Libra full moon, which is at 13 degrees of Libra when we round it up in the Sabian symbols, and this is children blowing soap bubbles. So I'll go ahead and throw up an illustration so that you can see the Sabian symbol for the Libra full moon. This is the Sabian symbol of children blowing soap bubbles. So the theme here is the art of play and enchantment. The symbol speaks to the beauty and pleasure that can be discovered even in the most unpromising of relationships and circumstances, and when the mind is free from all prejudice and preconceptions. The image of children blowing soap bubbles symbolizes playfulness, amusement, and delight in innocence or frivolous pastimes. The emphasis here is on imagination and enjoyment of the lighter side of life. The challenge in this degree is being able to distinguish the difference between childlike and childish behavior. At its highest, it represents creativity, charm, and talent for adding sparkle and wit to any situation. Watch for refusal to grow up and accept responsibility or difficulty functioning in the practical everyday world, and a tendency to retreat into the world of fantasy and delusion when the going gets rough. So today the accent is on fun and entertainment. You may find it hard to keep your mind on your work. Your greatest advantage lies in using your imagination. Take a fresh look at situations and people you have been taken for granted. Find at least one new exciting thing to do that you weren't aware of before. Allow yourself to enjoy. Guard against feeling to take a crisis seriously, and don't fiddle while Rome burns. Stepping stones are fun, play, amusement, enjoyment, delight, imagination, fantasy, charm, euphoria, magic, innocence, childish, or childlike. Now, what's super interesting is I'm actually recording this on the balcony in a hotel right by Chichen Itza, and there's like a child that's like screaming by the pool. So I'm seeing this as like play and expression, which is super beautiful. But this is showing you something very precise when we talk about the Sabian symbol. And it's telling you to watch your relationships the same way that a child watches a bubble. And that is in awe, right? The bubble is something that you're engaged with, you're experiencing it. But at the same time, you know that the bubble isn't solid. You know that it's a temporal experience. So it's not something that you attach to, but it's something that it's a breathtaking moment that you don't want to try to capture it, because the moment that you try to, it flies off, right? Or it bursts. That's what this human experience is. I don't know if you guys have ever had this moment where you see a beautiful bird or butterfly or something in nature, and it's something that you want to capture on camera. But anytime you do try to take out the phone or try to take out the camera, there it is. It flows off in the wind, right? It blows off. And it's the same experience with a bubble. So I'm seeing this as there is magic in the temporal, and there is magic in being able to notice that there is something in the themes of your relationships that's coming up, even the relationship that you have with yourself, that is going to change you in ways that you can't possibly fathom right now. So it's definitely kind of giving soul contract energy, because the Libra full moon is the mirror of the self through the other. So every Libra full moon brings you this access of me versus us, self versus the other, and identity versus this reflection. But from the law of one perspective, there is no other. There is only you meeting yourself in another form. So with the sun in Aries, this becomes even clearer, because Aries is asking you to ask yourself, who am I when I'm not defined by the other, right? Have you been kind of compromising or losing your own autonomy in partnerships, right? Who are you when you kind of step back outside of that partnership, outside of that friendship, outside of that relationship, outside of that clientele bond, and everything you see in another is actually reflecting you as well. So the Sabian symbol of why the bubble matters is because the bubble is a perfect metaphor for something that is beautiful and captivating and real in experience. However, it's not permanent in form, much like the human experience. This is what you're being shown about your relationships right now in your life. Some of you are holding on to something that was never meant to be held onto. It was meant to be experienced, it was meant to be felt, it was meant to be witnessed, and then allowed to change or transform into its next stage, right, into its next form of whatever it wants to experience itself as. The card that we have for the Libra full moon, and if you don't know, in the tarot, the Two of Swords actually represents the moon in Libra. So this is going to be the ruler for this full moon, and the Two of Swords comes in and it represents something that's very simple. It's a moment before the bubble pops. This is a moment where you are still trying to see through a blindfold. So you can see this person, they have this blindfold on, and they're trying to balance the self versus the other, if they could stay or go in a situation, or what is truth versus illusion. But the tension exists because you're perceiving the two, when in reality there is only one, right? Where there is darkness, there is also light that can be found in the meeting. And it's the same when it comes to this bubble, because the bubble only holds its form as long as you believe in it. The moment that you see it clearly, it begins to burst. And it's not because something is lost, but it's because the illusion is no longer needed. Some of you are reaching a point of conclusion that, or conclusion is going to be a keyword. I'm about to look that one up. You're reaching a point of conclusion of no longer holding on to a character or even the story that played out, instead just extracting and deriving the wisdom, because a Two of Swords moment is also somebody waiting to receive information or confirmation or communication before that can aid them in a decision that they're going to make. So let me quickly look up that keyword real quick. Define conclusion. So that's reaching like a final part, a result or judgment reached after thinking, analyzing, or experiencing something. Now, to judge is actually a survival mechanism because it's to assess if you're safe in a situation. But really, when I talk about conclusion, the conclusion to the law of one is, what am I teaching myself through the form of another? You're able to see that very, very clearly when it comes to the theme of your life. What were you teaching yourself through another form of you, another version of you, another extension or expression of you? The conclusion is the end point or a final understanding of something. So you may be reaching a final understanding of maybe the role that partnerships have played in your life in order to allow you to arrive back at this point of, deep understanding, in order for you to arrive back to this kind of relationship with yourself. So in a logical thinking way, it's a decision or belief that you arrive at after considering information. So I feel like this is information throughout your human experience. After reviewing everything, you have arrived at a conclusion. So yeah, that's what it is. And it also says it's a closing section that wraps everything up. So the essay ends with a strong conclusion. So this is you really integrating experience. That's what it is. It's the moment that you become whole with the experience. In events or processes, it talks about the ending or outcome. The meeting came to a conclusion. So it's a process that's finishing because clarity has been formed and your meaning of an experience is being solidified. Now, that could be something that's actively happening in your life right now. And I'm hearing the way that partnerships have actually evolved because you have, and the way in which I'm hearing the energy in which you bring into partnerships as well is also transforming, because you're not needing anything outside of yourself. Instead, you're approaching it from this place of complete sovereignty and co-creation rather than codependency. So let's talk about childlike versus childish behavior and what that will look like or translate into for the human experience. So something that's childlike would be you saying, I can experience this fully without needing it to be permanent, right? That is the soul experiencing itself through human form. And to be childish is, I need this to stay so I don't have to face what's real. Right? Or I need this to stay, fill in the blank, so I can feel safe, so I can feel secure, so that I can feel seen, so that I can feel heard. Whenever we outsource that sense of partnership, there's something around you being able to cultivate that partnership within yourself first. With the Two of Swords here, right? The full moon in Libra is asking you to kind of not force a decision, but it's just asking you to see. It's saying it's safe to remove the blindfold now. It's safe to look at partnerships in your life where the human condition less, there you go. And you begin looking at life through the lens of the soul. And nothing is personal, but it's just vibrational. You understand how you drew in certain experiences based upon vibrational resonance. And there may be a dissonance in resonance now. There could be a frequency gap between you and those around you because you draw in a certain nucleus of a family and experiences based upon your own subconscious wounds. But when you integrate those wounds, you no longer reinforce the same ways of being. So eventually those networks break down, and simultaneously you also form new branches into new partnerships. So that's what 7th house is. It's the branch of a tree. And then 11th house Aquarian energy is how those branches connect to other branches within the forest or the jungle, and they create this huge network, right? It's like the mycelium underground network. So this full moon is asking you to recognize what's real, what is projected, and what's simply an experience that's passing through your field right now. And can you invite that to pass through your field and not try to attach to the permanence of it? I would say the higher octave of this and the highest octave that you can embody for the Libra full moon is sacred play, because at its highest expression, this full moon is teaching us that this isn't something that actually has to be heavy. It can be very, very light the moment that we decide it to be. It's asking you to return to play within connections, curiosity, presence, to engage with your life and relationships. It's not something that you have to control or cling on to, but something that you're simply here to experience. You're here to experience yourself and the infinite expressions of source. You're not here to possess anything. Instead, you're here to experience yourself through infinite forms across infinite expressions. And it really is that simple if we allow it to be, if we decide it to be. So you can love something, but also not feel like you have to hold it forever. You can experience someone, but also not have to define what that becomes. And you can be fully present within a connection and still understand that it's a reflection within a unified field of consciousness. So this is an initiation, not between two paths, but actually seeing that both paths were you simultaneously. I'm hearing running into themselves over and over again. And in that awareness, the illusion of separation naturally falls away. So we're going to get a message around this, but I do also want to read this thing for you that I saw. And it's actually a UC Berkeley research study. And I'm going to read it because it's going to speak for itself. And I feel like this is playing out in your life. And when I read this, I was like, this is so the Libra full moon energy. Anyway. Researchers tested 7 positive emotions to see which one had the strongest effect on the body's immune system. Joy didn't win. Love didn't win. Gratitude didn't win. The emotion that produced the lowest levels of disease linked to inflammation was awe, which is the childlike expression of the bubbles. Just being in awe of how beautiful is it to be able to experience this universe as the universe is one single being, temporarily playing within form in this unified field of consciousness. One single emanation, difference in only seeming, and not everything has to look like light for it to be light. We come in many different shapes and disguises in the system. Anyway, the study goes on to say that this is why a walk in nature can feel like medicine, why standing at the edge of the ocean calms something words can't reach, why music sometimes makes you cry for no reason that you can explain. Your body isn't being poetic, it's down-regulating a threat response at the cellular level, because the emotion of awe is telling your nervous system that you belong to something bigger than your problems. Keltner's later research found that awe also quiets the default mode network, the same brain region linked to ego, rumination, and depression. In brain scans, people experiencing awe showed reduced self-referential processing and increased activity in regions tied to connection and collaboration. The ego gets smaller. The sense of being something gets larger, and the body heals in response. You don't need a retreat. You don't need a substance. You need an experience your ego cannot shrink to fit. A sky it can't explain. A kindness that breaks your cynicism. A silence so total, your inner narrator runs out of things to say. That's not inspiration. According to the research, that's your immune system recalibrating. Because for a moment, you remembered that you're part of something. That you're part of a system that we've designed that goes far beyond the rational, logical mind. So allow your heart to guide you in a way that the mind doesn't fully understand. And when you surrender, you'll see that you can. So I'm going to get a Libra full moon message for you. I have a bit of a low battery right now. Let me see what one. All right. We can do it. We can do it. You know. Oh, should we read the Two of Swords interpretation from this book? I think we shall. Let's do this. Also, I'm seeing something around, because you're coming into authenticity at this stage of your journey, like some of you are learning yourself over and over again, or becoming reacquainted with yourself. Your partnerships are going to look very different at this stage of your life, because you've never been this octave of you. You've never drawn in experiences based upon this resonance. So let's go ahead and take a look at this Two of Swords. Two of Swords is actually embracing reality in a reverse meaning, facing fear and lowering your defenses. It's the lesser of two evils. Reverse, this card represents the lesser of two evils. You've been met with two bad decisions, but unfortunately you have to pick one. Face your fears and embrace reality. You can use your skill set to turn your choice into something better than what is perceived. So this could be where it was previously hard to see a situation from a soul lens, and I see you kind of surrendering into that viewpoint. Not all of you, like some of you have been able to move through this process, I'm hearing swimmingly, while others it's definitely been harder to reach that point of, you know, putting yourself in the shoes of another and actually seeing yourself from that outside perspective. So this also talks about surfacing fears, wasted energy, and approaching blindly or avoiding truth. So if there's been minus action around partnerships, this is about you know, confronting that within yourself, and really not confronting, but inviting yourself to see what needs to change in the way that you navigate these dynamics in your life. And it's important to focus your energy on performing this task with precision. Now is not a time for dragging around extra weight. Shed the excess. So if there are certain partnerships that just no longer feel in resonance and are really just not conducive for you at this stage of your journey, then give yourself permission to release. Release, release, release. 333 on the clock. So you're reaching your highest potentials. 333 card is a potential card. It talks about now's the time to lean in on your highest potentials. I think it's right here. Your chance to reach your highest potentials is here. Perseverance has gotten you to where it is you are. You've been through so much, and this guidance is here to show you that you're exactly where you need to be. My potential is infinite. Okay, so you're stepping into a new potential, a new expression. And what that looks like for you at this stage of your life. Let's go ahead and pull an angel number message card since we have this out. And then I want to also get another card for you. How are you doing, by the way? Let me know. Let me know in the comment section. How are you doing during this Libra full moon? 1717, self-reliance. So this talks about the wisdom that you've gained through these partnerships. Time has come to rely on your knowledge, your wisdom, and your ambition. You have an important soul mission and life purpose. Leaning on your inner strength will allow more of your path to unfold ahead. I'm hearing, if you know all the ways that these partnerships were actually you initiating yourself and preparing yourself for character development, for being able to remember yourself, even through the most tumultuous journeys, those hardships had only strengthened you. And I'm hearing they've been raw material and ingredients for this alchemical process to take place within you, for this transduction process to take place within you. So something that once you resonated with or referred to or thought about from a low octave, you've actually transformed the relationship to what an experience has meant. I'm seeing that has happened for you significantly. And it continues to happen. You know, I feel like there's newfound gratitude of awe of what an experience really is. Okay. All right. So we have, do I use enough time for contemplation? Wow, this is so funny because a reading that I just did, I think it's going to be like a day or two before this, was literally, oh no, after this, is literally about contemplation. Okay, do I use enough time for contemplation? There's something in which you are being called to contemplate right now in your life, right? That's actually assessing different timelines of maybe What would my experience have looked like without this circumstance? Or what would it look like without the circumstance? And what was I inviting myself to do all along? Whether that was to set boundaries, whether that was to be strong enough to not just walk away, but walk towards something new. There's something beautiful in that contemplating act. It also says, do I perceive that everything is connected? Law of one, right? So have you contemplated, what have I been teaching myself through another form, and what is the value of the experience? What gold can I extract from, you being a filtration system? It reminds me of something that even appeared to be parasitic. Like if we wake up and find ourselves in a timeline that we don't want to be in, well, we can shift that. There are infinite timelines accessible at our fingertips. And we can change our relationship to something, even to ourselves, or what an experience means. Now, the last one is, what do I plant to have a good harvest? So this is actually your seeds of your thoughts, all right? And how that leads to the harvest in which your experience. I'm hearing the fruits of your labor, the work that you did when no one was watching, the work that happened behind the scenes. Because one-to-one Libra is like, it can be quite private. It can be something that not everyone sees. It's something that can go unseen. I'm hearing when you look at the mirror and the mirror looks back at you. Super interesting. So, do you use enough time for contemplation? To contemplate and perceive that everything is connected? And what kind of thoughts are going to be conducive for what you want to harvest from the situation or from these events that streamline through you and into the world around you, seemingly coming from outside of yourself, but reality is not coming at you, it's coming from you. So it's not even happening to you or for you, it's happening through you. So let's get one more message, right? Let's get one more message. I'm hearing the Shaman's Dream Oracle message, so we'll go ahead and get this. The Shaman's Dream Oracle. This is telling me that we're driving to another world. Ooh, heart, home, and compassion. So the heart space. See, when you look at life on Earth through your biggest filter of perception being the heart space, that is recognizing your interconnectedness to all things. And that only happens when you're so deeply connected to yourself that you have no other option but to see the truth in it was all you. It always has been. So I'm gonna love and leave you right there. If you're not already subscribed to the channel and have made it to this point, do consider subscribing. I would absolutely love to have you around. Personal reading details also down below. That is a waiting list for about the 20th of April. I'll come back to them because I'm still traveling around Mexico before I settle down somewhere here. And then yeah, also check out Auto Spirit if you're looking for some high quality AAA grade gemstones. One of the proceeds are donated towards Auto Sanctuary, so you have 2 discount codes for that in the description box. And let me know, how is this full moon in Libra treating you? I hope that we're going to be doing something on this day together. But until next time, bye.
Clouds in the sky, don't care if I stay all day. Dreaming of time when you and I were dancing